No, not everyone is capable of doing a PhD. And I say this because so much goes into doing a PhD. There are so many variables and factors, and not all of them are in our control. And I think the people that are saying yes to this question are underestimating the privileged position they are saying yes from. To do a PhD, you need to be able to have the right education, be financially supported up to the point that you can get a scholarship, or you have to be independently financially stable to do a PhD. And then there's all of the biases in academia that like straight white males from England. Let's talk about that. Here are all of the factors that I think actually determine success and whether or not someone is capable of doing a PhD. And let me just say this, it's not because as an individual, if everyone just had the same level playing field and everyone had all of these things taken care of, yes, we could all achieve it. But unfortunately, here are the things that are stopping people from being able to do a PhD. And it's like nothing to do with intellect. There are so many personal traits that you need to do a PhD that are not taught in school or in any other way, that we then need to rely on during a PhD to get our PhD. And you need to actually learn what works best for you. So these personal traits such as perseverance, the ability to push through failure, the ability to motivate yourself, stay focused, be passionate, whatever that means. Imagine this, that you've just gone to a teacher and they've given you an exam question that is really ambiguous, that has an open-ended kind of due date, and you'll have no help and support, and you're just kind of like pushed out into the world to research it for yourself. Not many people would have the motivation, the desire, the insight, the ability, the access to resources to actually do that question any justice. And unfortunately, that is just what a PhD is like. There is so much that you need to learn about yourself during the process of a PhD or before a PhD that actually determines your success and your ability to do it. Now, if you're fortunate, you have some of these capabilities already in you that you've built up from doing other things outside of academia before you get to your PhD. Maybe it's communication, maybe you're part of a team, maybe you volunteer in a certain way, maybe you've done some courses outside of academia. These actually all really help people complete a PhD, because it shows them and exposes them to the sort of skills that you need to get through sort of long-term projects. You either pick up these skills along the way because you have to, or if you're lucky, you've learned them from places outside of academia before you've even started a PhD. So yes, there's so much that goes in and so many skills that are not anything to do with academia that actually determine whether or not someone is capable of doing a PhD. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. The link is in the description. And when you sign up, you'll get 5 emails over about 2 weeks. Everything from the perfect PhD daily schedule, how to write the perfect abstract, the tools I use, my TEDx talk, and more. It's exclusive content only available on that newsletter list, so go sign up now. I think one of the biggest things that actually determines if someone's capable of doing a PhD is their financial ability to support themselves through the course of the 5+ years that you're doing a PhD. Now, my PhD was 3 years, and I was so fortunate. I was in a privileged position in my undergraduate years where my parents paid my tuition fees and my student loan was for me to live on. So I had a very small student loan while going into my PhD, which meant that I didn't have the financial stress of having these massive loans, having to work while I was doing my undergraduate, so I could completely focus on getting good grades. Now, not everyone is capable of doing that, and it comes from a position of privilege, of luck, of being well supported, or by being, able to access money either through grants or being independently wealthy. But you do have to accept that you have to sort of knock back your lifestyle a bit, and not everyone wants to do that, and that's absolutely fine. But money is a huge reason why not everyone is capable of doing a PhD. Not everyone has the desire to go deep on a subject, and I completely get it. Like, I actually never thought that I would go deep into nanoparticle water-based solar cells like I did. And I don't know what actually drove me down that path. Maybe it was just because I was like, oh, I want to do a PhD and this interests me. I just kind of followed what interests me. I just sort of like, approached different supervisors to see what their research interest was. And I tried to build up my own sort of like interest from there. I certainly knew what I liked in undergraduate, but in undergraduate, you learn about things. You don't necessarily do it at a research level. Whereas in a PhD, you're now able to sort of like see if what you liked in undergraduate actually matches the reality of doing that PhD and doing that subject, in a hands-on research environment. And I think I did a couple of like undergraduate projects, one in my third year, one in my fourth year, and that sort of like directed me down the physical chemistry path. Now, I just kind of went that way. I wanted to come to Australia, so I got a PhD supervisor who said, yes, I can sponsor you and we can get you all these international fee waivers. But ultimately, I don't think I had an absolute desire to learn these things in detail, but it was interesting nonetheless. And so I just kept on going deeper. And, I don't think I was ever passionate about solar cells, but I was at least good enough on the different instruments and the different techniques that I could get a PhD, get the results and put it into a thesis. So yeah, some people don't even get to that point where they're sort of exposed to a range of different subjects where they might go, oh, that one's interesting. I think I'll sort of like spend 5 years looking at that, please. I think a lot of people are happy with like a top level, surface kind of level understanding of a subject. And you can get a by with that level of information for almost everything. I think it takes either like someone on the spectrum or someone who's really, really interested in a subject to want to go deep. Imagine researching for 5 years something that you have no interest in. You just won't do it. I mean, I'll flick past a YouTube video in about 30 seconds if it doesn't interest me. I think the last reason some people aren't capable of doing a PhD is because the academic system has biases and a huge amount of luck. Biases. Now, as a white male who was called Andrew Stapleton, I was able to access a load of English-speaking universities and supervisors, and it just was much easier for them. And unfortunately, the biases in academia still favor, like most of the world, white, straight males who can speak English, particularly confident ones, or ones that can put on a good, confident front when they're having interviews and that sort of stuff. So, unfortunately, those biases means that some people just won't be able to access a PhD because someone will look at their name, look at the country they're from, and just say no, not because they're not capable or clever, but because that person has a bias towards certain types of applications. And also, people of color and women, I think, have a horrible time in academia, or at least when I was in academia, and I think they have to go even further. It's not just good to be good, you have to be the best to be able to stand out in academia in sort of like, England, Australia, even the US, to really sort of like get a PhD scholarship. So absolutely insane. And also there's a huge amount of luck, right? Like I cannot tell you how lucky, if you look back even on your career up to this date, like think about all of the chance meetings, all of the decisions, all of the things that you thought to yourself, I'll do that instead of this. And it just kind of like creates this momentum in a certain path throughout your life. And part of that is luck. If I didn't, choose a university that had a year abroad, I would never have come to Australia. I would therefore never have come to Australia and then met, certain PhD supervisors who then I was able to connect with when I went back and I was looking for a PhD, all of that stuff, the sliding doors moments of life really sort of play a huge part in deciding if you're capable of doing a PhD. And those things, little tiny decisions can add up. They can really change the direction of your life. And we have sometimes little control over those parts of our life and our trajectory through our education. So yeah, not everyone's capable of doing a PhD because of all those reasons. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. Those are the reasons I think not everyone is capable of doing a PhD. And remember, it's not because individuals as sort of people aren't clever enough to do a PhD. Everyone, if you get to the beginning of a PhD, you are clever enough, you are capable. You just have to do so much more learning on the way that some people just aren't interested in that process. And that's absolutely fine. And a lot of people drop out because they realize it's not for them. And once again, there's no shame in that. Moving forward, keeping the momentum towards the life you want to lead. Life by design, not default, is a big thing that I'm living up to at the moment. And yeah, that's what. Let me know in the comments if you agree. And also go check out academiainsider.com. That's my project where I've got my ebooks, the Ultimate Academic Writing Toolkit, as well as the PhD Survival Guide and my Insider Forum. And I'll see you in the next video.